Let's see.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the day. We thank you, Father, for the time that we have together here today and listen to this proposal about the Albany Avenue extension. We know, Father, that there are many people anxious for this, and we pray, Father, that you would be sure to oversee and make sure that the things are done correctly, and that you would bless us as you see that we're working on these things. Be with the board, help them always to keep the citizens in front of their minds. Be with everybody involved, that we can all do our best always. Forgive us of our sins. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Anybody from the floor from anything? Don't have nobody.
No, sir.
We're going, our agenda items is a presentation provided by Practical Design Partners, PDP, on Albany Avenue Overpass Project Engineering. Okay, we all know what this is about, and I think everybody that's here, and we do have the engineers here, so I'd like to get it kicked off with Scott. If you want to introduce them, you
Yes,
talk
sir, I
a little
will.
more than I have.
We have two representatives with us from Practical Design Partners out of Atlanta, Brad Robertson and Daniel Taylor. And so I asked them to come today to present the project of what we are planning for, and to kind of give you a presentation of the project altogether and some of the design concepts and what they have presented, and then just leave it open. And I think much of the discussion will come from questions and answers and those kind of things. So if you'll allow me, I'll ask Brad if he'll introduce himself and his associate.
Okay, thank you. Come on up, Brad.
So I'm Brad Robinson, Vice President of Practical Design Partners. Daniel Taylor, and Scott introduced.
Okay.
I understand everyone has a copy of the layout as well as our proposal. So I'll just briefly go over the layout, and as Scott said, willing to answer any questions that you all have. So, we understand all these at-grade crossings within the city are a huge priority, or within the county and the city are a huge priority for both county and the city. Not just from a congestion point of view, but safety, the at-grade crossing, but also the ability for emergency vehicles to get around the trains when they're sitting on the tracks. What we're looking at here with the Albany Avenue grade separation, of course, Albany Avenue would incline up and over the railroad. Originally, we had Garlington Avenue on the southwest side, kind of hooking around and tying into Waller Street. A recent revision to this layout now has Garlington Avenue, if you're coming northbound, Garlington going underneath the bridge as well and tying into Waller Street on the north side of Albany Avenue. That way traffic doesn't have to cross over Albany Avenue, ramp up, and still have that intersection with Albany. It would actually go under the bridge. Then coming southbound on Garlington, again going underneath the bridge, and a new location portion of the roadway there to tie over into Brunswick Avenue, just to provide another connection, provide for better flow of traffic under the bridge, but also tying into the rest of the network there on the city side of the project. So we would propose, you can see the typical sections on the bottom left of the layout there. We would propose NSC walls on both sides of the roadway as it ramps up and over the bridge. We've got several walls on both sides of Albany Avenue there to try to reduce impacts to the adjacent properties. You can see on this latest layout, those 3 red dots there are buildings that would need to be acquired for that new connection to Waller Street. Also making some improvements at the intersection of Garlington Avenue and Crawford Street, just to allow for better maneuvering right there, widen out that radius to allow for trucks to be able to make those turns.
Right. Okay.
There is, so since we are banking up Albany Avenue coming from the west side, we do have several private properties there on the south side of Albany Avenue where we have a little access driveway road that would follow adjacent to one of those retaining walls and tie into Garlington Avenue right there underneath the bridge.
Right. Okay.
Any questions or thoughts on the layout?
You mentioned about the, I appreciate you coming here, and, the 3 red dots there, and you said over 3 properties that would have to be acquired.
That's right.
Okay. And if I'm thinking, looking at this right, that would be that car lot over there, and,
Now, it'd be the old Hubberville stores,
No, that's on the Hubberville store side.
the old jewelry.
okay, that's what I'm trying to get my bearings
Yeah.
right here.
Right, it's on the northwest side.
Let's see,
Gary's Metal
3
Work.
dots there.
Yeah, so that's the Herbertfield.
Yeah, that's the old Hubberville store right there. Okay, and
so
that's that old
that's
bar. That's the old
Skyline
bar
Bar.
right there. And then that's that old case track place.
So that's going like this right here.
Going out of town.
I see.
Going out of town.
Yeah,
Two
Herbertfield.
ways right here, that car.
Okay, car place, okay. I'm trying to get my bearings right on
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it gets me messed up too. But I got it.
So what would the Herbertville store and what would be the other 2?
Yeah,
That used to be an old bar
dots
there.
on the right side of Waller.
There's a lounge next to it.
Yeah, what they call
Lounge.
that? It was,
Breaking up, Carlton.
Garland Ante, you won't cross that thing.
My Place or something like that, I think.
So
I
it's
can't
not
remember.
operational right
No,
now?
sir.
no,
No,
it's
vacant.
been closed
Yeah.
down. And the old heavy building closed down.
And the other one is the machine shop
That
that sits right by the railroad tracks, if you're facing north.
Okay, talking about used to be the Ironworks place?
Yep, that's
The
it.
one that we talked about?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's why I asked, I
Yeah.
knew that those
Yeah.
3 would be.
That's right.
Not those 3, but I know the Ironworks place would be.
Yes, sir. Yep. Brad, I want to ask a question. Everville Store's been there for a very long time. Now, if we use local funds to build this, what sort of historical survey would we have to do? Anything that you know aware of with the state or anyone else?
No, if you're using local funds.
Okay, I didn't think so, yeah.
That's added on to the project.
So that's one of the major assumptions in our proposal, is that everything will use SLOSS funding for
Right.
construction. Of course, if there was any federal funding involved, it'd be a much lengthier
The
process
city wants to find the money.
Yeah.
and more expensive.
We got 10 million on.
So, how many of these projects have your firm done?
The firm, we're actually working on one in Valdosta.
That's right.
Right now, St. Augustine Road, right there at the railroad.
Very familiar with that.
Yeah, it's a GDOT project, but we're involved on that one. Previously, we worked with the county on a couple other ones. We were involved at one point on the OC Davis grade separation as well. We've done projects for the city of Columbus, grade separations over the railroad. Those were Norfolk Southern railroads.
So basically the same thing what we're talking about here.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Cause I know in Valdosta, they have one right there. Crosses 84, I believe it is.
84, yeah.
And that big thing right there. And then like I said, that St. Augustine Road, cause I retired from the railroad, and when you would block that crossing, traffic just back up, I mean, for like miles.
Yes, sir.
So they're putting one right there. Okay.
On 84 there in Valdosta, that thing has a road under both sides of it too, don't it? Like
I believe
this.
so.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And it really goes over the Norfolk Southern line.
Yeah.
That's the one that goes over.
that's right.
And I guess just like with this one right here, it won't be too, I guess when y'all do it, it won't be like up way and then drop down, kinda.
Yeah, we're designing it for truck traffic, so I believe we had an 11% passing grade on the profile. Or even less, 6-7%, it's even lighter than that. So we haven't gotten, this is all conceptual at this point, just to help us determine where the project will begin and end, looking at that profile. But we are designing it based on the roadway criteria and accessibility for trucks.
How high will that road be there? Excuse me. Crawford Street. Will Albany Avenue be raised about what, about what the,
Well, right at the, so at the railroad, they require, I believe it's 22 feet of clearance right at the railroad for double stack cars. So then at the end of the project, we're at 0, so Crawford Street, we're probably still 10 feet or so.
probably gonna be still about like 10 foot right there.
So down there by where Eldridge Harbor is, you still gonna, is that where they're gonna start going up with it right there? Or is it gonna be on past?
Crawford Street, where the old Dixie Express
Yeah.
convenience store was, I think that's where he shows it started, or stopped in this case.
The bridge,
It
yeah.
stops a little east of Crawford Street.
So how about
that's
west?
That old, Dixie Express convenience store, the.
Davis
what's that
Meat?
restaurant called, Scott? Stars?
Gateway.
Gateway.
No,
used to be
Gateway, okay.
That's where it
That's,
stopped.
is that Crawford Street there?
That's not
Yes.
Crawford Street, is it?
Crawford Street's right here.
Crawford Street's way on down there.
He's talking about the bridge.
Yeah, but I'm saying, keep mentioning Crawford Street's not in that area. is it?
Right there, Crawford.
Crawford, yeah,
My man, different.
Crawford Street right there.
Yep.
Okay.
Street. But see, Crawford Street's all over here too. Crawford Street schools and all come way back over here. This is part of Crawford over here.
Man, that got a different map.
I didn't even know that was Crawford. I thought it was be Rick.
They ain't got
It
it
will
on there.
start, it will start
This, that's the reason I got this.
right in front of the
I
church.
just asked him for that copy. It goes on.
Yeah, that's a lot clearer there.
Yeah, this is, it's got the roads out there too.
Old Dixie
You
Express
can
store.
look at it if you
That's all
can
right.
use that one.
So other than those three properties you're talking about, we would have to acquire, do you anticipate any other property we would have to acquire? Or?
There would be other property to acquire, those are the 3 buildings that would need to be demolished for that roadway. So, it's hard to see on these smaller printouts, we do have some larger ones over here, but the green hatched area with the diagonal lines, those are easements. There's some solid red lines in there that would be required right away. So property that we need from the private property.
Shows up there.
Oh, yeah.
That green hash there, some of the acquisitions gonna be required. That's where that whole area there, this area here, the green hatching would be the right of way.
So it would start going up right along here. where that
Yes, sir,
is?
that's the Bible
Heritage
Church.
Church.
Is where it starts, and right in front of their property, about 2.5 feet off the ground, because it's beginning to climb from there. And then there's the bridge itself, and then it starts coming down, and here's where
So
the,
why does it start way back here like this, where that right there is like that coming down? Why does it stretch so far out this way?
It's going further to the east as well. You can see where it's going all the way up.
It's down to here.
Oh, it start going down here, okay.
Yeah, because that's what
that's the
that,
Crawford Street where we was talking about,
So that'd
being
be-
elevated there.
Still be high right there.
Yeah.
So this road still be open right here once we get through with it?
Yeah, he showed this blue line as his wall, where you can build that up.
So you said that's gonna be about 10 foot right there probably, you said?
That's my guess. Yes, sir.
That's gonna be about like right by the credit union, where you get no corners of our credit
And that's
union.
why Crawford Street, the improvements come back to this point, so it can ramp up to.
And that's why he's got his wall coming around to terminate back there.
That's just to keep Eldridge in business, ain't it?
Yes, sir. And access to them from this pink driveway.
Think he might be ready to retire and sell out by then. And then you got the gas station, Ware Middle and all that out there, but that one, you have to come in like that and go to it.
Well, if the width of the right of way, it's acquired, at the end up, how wide will it be?
So not a lot of changes to the actual right of way, because we do have those walls. We are acquiring some right of way through here for this little access road. And then in the corners, I mean, of course, we're acquiring right of way for this.
That'll be mainly for the wall construction.
This would be for this road to come under and go by and tie in to Garlington on the other side.
The easements, the green lines are mostly just for construction.
But you say from about right here to right here, it would be filled up with dirt. I'm talking about where your incline going up. Why don't they put it on steel?
Wall.
I'm sorry.
Wouldn't steel be cheaper?
Bridges are real expensive to build, like, what, $200 a square foot?
Lately, closer to 300.
$300 a square foot.
Things are really, prices are really going up.
So when, other words, would it be the wall I'm envisioning, just like over there on,
Quarter Z.
Cordley, where you got those little octagon or squares?
Yes, sir.
That would be what you talking about right here,
Yes, sir. Just shown in blue.
the retaining wall.
Proposed retaining wall. Yes, sir.
And that's look like the most of what they're doing in a lot of places now. They
You,
use.
you try to cut down on your impact to those surrounding properties, so you don't have to taper down your slopes to fill. You can narrow it up and stay with a very narrow footprint by using the wall. Or like Commissioner said, if you put it on a bridge section, it'd just be a lot more expensive than what we show here.
Once you get up to a certain height, it's cheaper to build the walls than it is all the extra dirt to tie in side slopes as well, especially in South Georgia where it's hard to come by dirt.
That's a double track right there. I guess
Cause
that's
railroad,
awesome
they'll
right
be
there.
wanting to close off to Noah Street, won't they? Once we get this built, they'll be wanting to close off to Noah Street, where they can run trains all the way through them without block
Is
trains.
there proposal still to add more tracks to that thing? One more on each side of it, ain't it?
We're assuming one on this layout. Once we get approval, it's one of the first things we'll do is coordinate with the road and make sure we understand their plan.
In other words,
I
not
think
to add
Scott
another
and I
track in
done-
there.
You have something on that, Scott, that they gonna
What's that?
ask for another crossing there already? I mean, another track?
Yes, sir. I think somewhere down the discussion some time ago, they mentioned that they were thinking of, they had plans to add another line there.
They'll probably be asking for
That,
2 additional tracks.
that's right, 2 additional
Like
tracks.
They have enough land there to do that?
You're gonna have to build
That'd
for
be-
that.
that'd be on the railroad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're on right away. It'd be tight, but I guess you could get for, what is that?
So what we're showing there is one additional. If you were to add another additional track, it would probably go on the outside of this curve as well, which may just shift everything over just slightly. Make the bridge a little longer.
So, but you would need to know that before you.
Well, looks like the
That's the first
railroad
thing
would be
we do.
responsible if they gonna have to make the bridge longer, but like railroad would have to throw in some money on it, to make it big enough for it.
If we close the crossing there, which we are, we've been told the railroad is willing to participate, it's like 5%, isn't it, Scott?
Yep.
5% of
So we
14
just have to-
million, that would be what, $2 million?
We need to ask them for that money to.
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking when you was talking about, they may wanna cross and clover, hey, that's, you know, that's something, bargaining point, I guess, for lack of a better term, you know. They want something, and then we want something too.
Gives 5% for that one, and 5% for Genoa Street, that's 10% right there, that's $1.4 million. Let's say it's like.
That's what I say, off from that street, I won't like to put that street under there because we close Genoa.
What?
If we agree to let them have Genoa, then they'd get 2 crossings closed. And they should have more than 5% really, I don't know if they will or not.
Definitely needs to be higher.
Close everything except for Carnival Avenue.
And that's a big savings to them whenever they, especially a
Yeah,
signalized
they
crossing,
do.
that's a lot of money they save, you know, and liability.
And a lot more citizens they'll make happy.
Alright. We we gonna,
I got another question about the right of way. It says commercial displacement. What is that? $900,000.
Are you looking at the cost estimate? That's those reds.
That's buying them out.
That's right.
Good Lord.
buying who out?
Buying that new Hooverville store and Gary's Metal Work. Probably get that a lot cheaper than that.
He's using, state numbers probably to generate his estimate. So that's probably some state averages for right-of-way acquisition, you know. I mean, we don't know exactly what that number will be, that's just what we've got as like a placeholder there for that item.
I'm sure it'd be lots less than that, cause there's nothing there now except for empty abandoned buildings.
We try to capture all the costs that we can, but we are making a lot of assumptions for those. Until you have your appraisal.
Down on the bottom, railroad CSX, preview cost bridge over the railroad, $50,000 in construction inspection cost for bridge. They gonna charge us $630,000 to inspect.
Railroad wheel.
So we have 250 there. That's right, that's been our experience. They do, as part of the project, as part of the agreement between the county and the railroad, it'll be for the railroad to have their own inspectors out there.
That's when we were planning for the ABC or the Jamestown project. That was one of the things that we were looking at for the north section phase. And just to be able to put that road within their right of way, it was $350,000.
Yeah.
Just so they could have their flagmen and their inspectors out there at all times.
You have to pay that up front too.
Yeah, you can't pay it at the end. You got to give it to them, and then they'll sign the contract with you.
Yeah. I paid them $20,000 to sit there and sleep in the car all day while I bored up under the railroad track.
Exactly. That's right, that's exactly right.
But they earned it.
Yeah. I sure
So
have.
the other portion of that 630 you were seeing were the gas, power, telephone, and water estimates that we had.
So there's a pile of light wires right in there. The
Yeah.
light poles are loaded down.
It's too much of it.
I do.
Say from beginning to end, what are your anticipated time on a project like this?
So in our proposal there, we've estimated a 36-month schedule, basically a 3-year schedule. A lot of that, 6 months of it's probably just coordinating with the railroad. They are typically a little slower to respond, and you have your time frames that they require to review the plans, provide feedback. And we don't want to move too far ahead of them on things like you said with the track. We want to make sure we know what they're going to require, so we're not having to go backwards and redo anything. We've also got a year in there for the county to acquire any right-of-way necessary.
Hey, give me a checkbook, I can have that settled in about a week.
We can reduce this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, you could start in 6 months, you say?
For the railroad,
Yeah, I mean, for us to start the project.
No.
That's what you got?
No, I asked him how long would it take once they start? He
Oh,
said,
yeah.
so he was giving a timeline. He said about 6 months would be just basically just to coordinate everything.
Coordinate.
so
Okay.
we would coordinate with the railroad as soon as we have NTP, to understand, make them aware of the project, understand what they're gonna require. And then every time we complete our set of plans, our preliminary plans, our final plans, the railroad would review those as well, and they can take 2 or 3 months doing that.
Okay. How long would it take for this project to get kicked off if we agree to it on everything?
We're ready to go, it's just a matter of signing the contract, which we have a contract template that I believe the county's signed before, so, whatever y'all.
So y'all take care of everything, bidding and everything.
We're assisting with the bid package, we've done that for y'all before as well, we'll attend the pre-bid meeting, answer any questions, pull together the package.
What jobs have y'all done for us before?
I'm sorry?
What jobs have y'all done for us before?
So we did the Hatcher Point Road widening several years ago. I was the engineer of record on that one. That was with a previous employer, but Daniel did help out with the, with that bid package.
It took us, what, 4 years longer to do that road than we weren't supposed to?
Yeah, primarily because of, right-of-way acquisition. Actually, it was a bit longer than that, like 6 years to do all of it, and we had to go back and redo some of it.
That should have been done in a 2-year project.
Yeah, it appeared on the radar in 2003, and there was $3.3 million worth of federal funds in it, plus state money. So there was a chance that we would lose all that funding if we were told basically by DOT, either get it started back going now or we'll pull the funding. So that's why we did that. And Brad was very instrumental in helping us to get that thing back going and put it back on the radar.
All right, we got $10 million set aside for this project. Where are we gonna get the balance from? Another $4.5 million.
Well, and that was one of my questions I was gonna ask as far as designing and getting to a point to where we'd advertise, just guesstimate about how long you think that may take?
That was in 3 years.
3 years to,
Yeah, from NTP to start the development process. to a
Okay.
contract.
yeah. And see, that we talked about, the collection of, the new splosh will start in April. And we collect about 6.3 million per year, countywide.
So it's gonna take 4 years to collect that money.
Well, by the time you get started, and if there's any preliminary cost that comes in, you could pay it out of the regional T-Splosh and then just pay it back as it comes back from Splosh.
I got one small question here, Mr. County Manager, sir. Is this the total cost, or are the city charges incurred with this total cost? Because several of these streets are in the city.
That's right.
It was, the way it was, the budget was created was to split it, as a joint, or not split it, excuse me, do it as a joint project out of those funds. And then there was a difference of, I think like 1.4 million that we couldn't put in that level 2. And so we split that 1.4 based on that SPLOS division of 60-40. So we'd pay 60, they'd pay 40. And that's how it was done. It was basically a joint project out of to come off the top of all the proceeds.
So actually, we had 11 point something million dollars already set up, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
See, we already had.
Actually, I think
that
it was,
much set up between
was
us.
it 12?
12, I believe.
12 million.
About 12 million.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So we were
Yeah.
almost at it.
So we can't get any federal money to help this project?
Well, that would be one of the things, if it is, as we were talking about earlier, if we get outside funding from the state or the feds, then we would have to play by their rules, and that complicates matters tremendously. And it slows it down too, as they can tell you. You don't get in a hurry, especially when you're dealing with DOT, because it takes forever to get things in place and moving along, so.
How about the regional T-Splosh, whenever it comes back, we say take $3 million?
Yep.
Throw $3 million in the pot for that to go on this project?
Yes, sir.
More?
You could submit that as one of your projects.
That's one of the main, reasons why whenever we were promoting the splash tax and everything, and promote this as a joint project without any federal state money, because we wanted to move along with it,
Yep.
and not be hindered, by a lot of, I guess, bureaucracy.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of different rules and restrictions when
Right.
it comes to that, and we've been witnessing it on the Ozzie Davis
Right.
overpass there with all the checks and balances and clearances and all that has to be done. So it gets complicated.
And I know that's a little bit bigger project, but in essence, if this project started, say, in the next 6 months, theoretically, we could have that project done before that one's even done back there.
Yeah.
So you're projecting to go to bid in December of 2025?
Yes, sir. We were able to start on it next month.
And then what was the projected construction time?
We have not truly evaluated construction time just yet. I would probably throw out 2.
So you're talking 3 years before it be bidded out?
Yes,
Oh, it'd be 3 years before this job could be bid.
yes.
And how long I didn't hear you, How long is the construction time?
Probably another 2 or 3 years.
So you're looking 6 years down the road before it's completely finished.
Okay, so I was thinking that you all could get started. I thought that 3 year you were talking about was,
Be finished through with it.
so you're saying it'd be 3 years before you can even start on the project?
Before you can start construction.
There's a timeline
It'd be
on
about a 3-year design, coordinate with the railroad, by right of way, we're estimating at about a year, which is, you know, it's.
Look how long
it's county
Jamestown took.
resources.
And that's conservative, probably.
That's a long time, I don't know.
That ain't nothing.
It takes us a while just to get right away for paving projects. I mean, we've been working on the ones out at, what is it, Osborne Road and R.C. Davis
No, we've been
for
working on that for
quite a while.
3.5
You know,
years
so
or more.
it takes a while, that going back into and doing all the appraisals and the paperwork and the letters and that kind of thing.
In other words, we got I think, but a little bit of right of way we have to acquire. City and the county owns all that in the roadway. I don't see where getting that right of way would hold that much time up. No more than that is.
And with it being all locally funded as well, you could potentially start having conversations with these property owners in advance of that time.
And if we're
If
talking
it were
3,
federally funded, you couldn't do that in advance of having an environmental document.
See,
If we're
they
talking-
want to drive over that bridge in 2023.
Now, let me ask this question.
Don't count.
But the original design did not include the two streets under the bridge, right?
One of them did, didn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember
One
how
of
that
them did, but
looked.
the other one didn't.
But I was just wondering, could we build the bridge, the overpass, for that at a later date? So that way the actual overpass gets started and then do the design to where you could come back after the fact and put in the two other streets?
Those two connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could look at phasing it out during the design to do that. You'd have to go ahead and build the bridge fully.
Correct.
But maybe not those two connections.
Right.
Scott, what you're talking about, Garland Avenue tying into Brunswick Avenue,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Go, build the bridge, design it the way for that to be done after the fact, just so you can move on that and make the project go faster. It's just, I don't know if that would actually work or not, but it's just an idea.
Can't run it on the same track, do it all at one time?
Well,
I mean,
I'll
why would
just,
you want to delay? I mean, is there an advantage to delaying?
well, from that standpoint, you got right of way that you're gonna have to work on. So you actually could be working on the right of way at the time when all this other is going on, and then once you get that built, then hopefully by that time you have the right of way you need to put in the through streets.
So there's no right of way to be acquired for the bridge itself and the retaining
There's
walls?
probably some, but not quite as much as the others. I mean, for the through streets.
It don't look like a whole lot of right of way to be acquired.
No, that's one, just for just a straight bridge.
Yeah.
If you're
You don't
gonna,
have to actually do it.
if you're gonna put the
How
walls
many
up.
Properties are affected, like how many right of way acquisition there will be?
Up to 28, I believe.
So that would be something along the lines of the Smith Road project, 28 properties to acquire.
It don't take long to condemn them and take.
It's like all the right of way goes together.
He's ready to sign the letter right now.
Let's do a mass condemnation, huh?
Yeah.
Condemnation.
Even with the
Yes.
condemnation, Chairman, you are supposed to write letters to them, allow for them to respond, and give a certain amount of time to go by. But it would greatly reduce what he has set up in that schedule for the right-of-way acquisition. You could cut that down probably, if you had a year in there, we might could do something fast-tracked in more like 6 months or so.
In other words, I have to sign all the condemnations because they don't have to, and then I have to leave town.
But you'll be able to drive over the bridge on your way out. You'll be able to drive over those past the pavement.
As I started, we understand the urgency to have this crossing. We'll do everything we can to accelerate it. A lot of it is dependent on the railroad and how responsive they are to us. But knowing there's some flexibility there with the right of way and and do what we can to push it along.
Well, if they know that they're gonna be getting 2 crossings closed, that might speed things up with them.
Yeah. I think the right of ways will probably could be acquired because everybody wants to overpass. Everybody down in that area wants it. So, they gonna be a few probably is gonna say, why they gotta come here, you know, I know you're gonna hear some of that. That's
Sure.
My question, might sound like a crazy question, but with inflation and deflation and the way prices are doing right now, with all the uncertainty that's going on, if we commit and sign a contract on this amount, and say the products or whatever we purchase for the bridge, some of the products become cheaper over time and are not what they are today because these prices are given to us based off of what the products are costing today.
That's right.
But we don't know what it's gonna be 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you know, if that's when we actually start construction. So will we get credit back if you bought the items cheaper later?
So what we're requesting today is the engineering proposal, approval of the engineering proposal, so we won't actually be purchasing any materials. Then 3 years from now, or whenever that time, if we can accelerate it, whenever that time comes,
It'd be to the bidder.
that's when we will bid it to a contractor. That's when your prices will be locked in.
Okay.
You agree, Brandon? Y'all
Absolutely.
have,
That's your best educated estimate of what it will cost now.
and we do have, you can see each one of those line items, we do have 20% contingencies in there. 2 years ago, that would have been 10%, we started increasing it just volatility.
And that's just for accounting purposes. That contingency money is not spent unless you run into something, a problem, and you have additional costs for the project that you have to use it for. That's just for our own in-house accounting to allow for unknowns. That you have with a project like this, you start digging out there and there's all kinds of crazy stuff that can be found.
No doubt, no doubt. Thank you.
What'd you say that bid date again could be?
Well, what we had in the proposal here was the end of 2025, December 2025.
End of 2025?
That would be, so we won't even have to drive, let them drive over that bridge.
You gonna be too old by then?
And a lot of this is the sequence we have to go through with design as well. And I talked about the coordination with the railroad, that you have to do your geotechnical work before you can truly get into the design to understand the foundations that you need, all of that. So just the sequence that we have to go through is really what's driving all of that schedule.
If it's anything like the Ozzie Davis overpass, the coordination with CSX is. I don't know how they do it and stay sane at the same time.
And we started working on that one, I believe, in 2018.
Yeah.
So they're still not buying right away. A lot of that has to do with the federal process that they're having to follow.
I know for that project, they had to move it twice, I think, already because of the coordination with CSX to get clearance and approval and those kind of things. And then the higher ups, they had to keep passing it up to get it cleared. And sometimes when word comes back down, it's not right. So they start over again and it goes through the whole process.
3 years.
Before it started.
That don't sound right to me. I mean, it might to them, but it don't to me. I just have to be honest about it. I think we could, is there anything we can push to be
We can certainly revisit.
shorten
the
this time? I
schedule
mean,
and-
because we need an overpass over there.
Sure.
We just need one.
So the suggestion that Scott made was, I think that was speeded up, right? Was not just to get the bridge and everything, but then as far as those tie-ins and all that,
Right.
at another time, but still be part of it, but just another time. That way you can still be using the overpass.
Right. Yeah, because the overpass is really the priority.
Right.
And
right.
design it for that to be phased in after the fact.
Right.
You know? And after you get the overpass, then that's going to alleviate a lot of problems there, and then we can work on the other
Right.
part with the way it's designed. It's just an idea more than anything.
Let me ask you, how long do you think it'd take to design it, just to design this project?
Well, that's, so this is the entire design schedule, the 3 years, but it also includes that right-of-way acquisition. So if you pull that back 6 months, we could be looking at 30 months. Again, a lot of it driven by our assumptions with the railroad that are outside of our control. I can promise you that we can do things quicker, but that's not gonna make the railroad move quicker. Reviewing some of our stuff.
Seems like they should kind of kick in a little bit of that funding, because we're gonna do away with a headache of theirs having to redo the railroad crossing right there.
Railroad is really not gonna hold us up any other than just tell us either we got to build the bridge a little bit longer, or
Well, we have to, so the bridge does have to cross over their right of ways, so they have to give final approval on it.
They have to approve the
on
plans.
the footers and everything they have to give the final approval on the footers.
And the bridge design itself.
And the bridge design. Or they probably have a bridge design, don't they, already?
No, we have
They're
every
engineers.
site's handled differently based on soil conditions and span lengths and all of that. This one will be a 3-span bridge, one over each section of Garlington and then one over all the railroad tracks. And there's probably some things in the schedule here, we try to, like I said, we try to build that sequence out so that we're not having to circle back and redo anything. If something were to change from the railroad or your soil conditions as we do our geotech, one thing we could look at doing is trying to condense a lot of that, which might put some other things at risk as far as the price goes. If we do have to, if we can't anticipate some soil condition that's found out there and you have to go back and redo some things, that might accelerate the schedule if that's the priority.
At what point can you go to the railroad and start those negotiations?
When can we go?
At what point in this process can you go to the railroad and start negotiations? What do you have to be done to go talk to the railroad?
We would propose going through them with what's in front of you, immediately, as soon as we had notice to proceed. Present this to them and make them aware of it and try to.
Just give them an overview of the project, get their opinions.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and understand what they're planning for the railroad, additional tracks, any other special requirements they may have. Y'all mentioned the other crossing just north of here. In my experience, if you're eliminating this crossing, I don't understand why they'd have a request for an adjacent crossing. Because the county's already putting in money to eliminate a crossing.
Well, railroad want to eliminate every crossing they
Oh,
can,
they-
if they could,
Sure. But I believe they would look at this project favorably because you are doing that. You're eliminating the crossing with Albany Avenue and with Garlington.
Right.
And they have given us a letter of support for this project. They are in favor of this. They will, I guess, try to do everything they can to help us with this timeline as much as they can. But it still is gonna take a long time to go back and forth with them and get their plan review process and get their input back to them, make any revisions required, and then resubmit those drawings. That is a pretty lengthy process.
So they're willing to kick in any funding,
5%.
5%?
That's what they said they'd give.
Scott, you and Brandon be involved with them when they go to CSX?
I think we could. Yes, sir. Most definitely.
Didn't have the number they told us, Scott, 5%.
5%.
Greg,
Yep.
December 25.
I guess just to give y'all an example of some of the things we can do with the schedule, if you're looking at our bar chart schedule there. The first line item there is concept coordination between the county and the railroad. And we've got 2 months in there, just assuming it's gonna take a couple of months for the railroad to pick a date, a month out. And we're not showing starting any of our land survey or our design until after we meet with them, so we understand those requirements. We could go ahead, we understand the limits of the project, we could go ahead and start surveys. And
I mean, why couldn't you survey up to the railroad property and stop there and wait on them?
Right, I guess the only reason we pushed it to after that meeting is if they had any other special requirements which might affect our survey boundary. So again, so we wouldn't have to go back and redo anything. But that's a low risk, what I'm hearing is schedule's the priority here. So that's something we could go ahead and start at NTP.
Scott, what point, do we need to kind of involve the city with all this now? I mean, we
I
talked
think-
about it, but we got two,
Right. Yeah, I
another
think
entity that's putting in.
once, once we get finished with this, then, at the point to where we can, involve the city, we can do it at the very next meeting and let them meet them from that standpoint. I've already, made them aware that, we were talking to
Okay.
the designers of the conceptual plan.
They didn't wanna be here today?
What's that now?
They didn't wanna be here today?
I know they had a meeting, I believe it's today, I believe it's Tuesday, their work session. So, but I can get with them right after this to see
I think
what
that
the
would be a
commission
good
wants to do.
courtesy to extend to them, being that they have a dog in this fight also,
Right.
and not just, we take it and go with it like it's ours, because it is a joint project.
That's correct, yes,
And
sir.
I think that, at some point, the, city engineer, Steve Pope needs to be, everybody, find out, because there may be something that come up that maybe they can help, as far as, facilitating or moving it along, because some of that property is gonna have to be acquired, it's gonna be in the city, right?
That's correct, yes, sir. Yeah.
Does the city limit line go across that crossing?
No, it's right there by Hooverville Store, the city limits line.
Is
Cross
it?
over the tracks.
It's right there by the old bar.
Well, over Hubbardsville and all, it would be in the city limit.
No, that's in the
It
county.
is.
The city limits is between the Hooverville Store and the old bar. It goes right through the middle of that old bar, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a sign.
Jan's.
Jan,
Jan's, that was the name of it,
somebody.
wasn't it? Jan, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
way
just
back in
think
the
that,
day, wasn't
if I had a dog in the fight, I wanna have, at least be privy to what's going on,
Y'all agree, we're gonna apparently manage the project, but they have got money in it and they
Right.
shouldn't be here.
Y'all need to crunch that schedule in 23 and 24. That needs to be crunched up into 1 year.
Like I said, there's some
Can
things
y'all-
we can
Change the dates.
condense here, and do our best to manage this as we go. We'll certainly revisit the schedule.
I mean, y'all probably busy, but I know everybody's busy, I think.
And like I said, a lot of that has to do with how responsive the railroad's gonna be, and just, we're taking a guess at that.
I believe they gonna be all right with it.
I think the railroad probably gonna
Oh, yeah, they'd be.
say
They
go
know they
ahead.
can-
I mean, I don't
they
think
can
they
stop
gonna
trains
hold us
on
up, I
them,
don't
they
believe.
They may even wanna put in that balance that's gonna be left over, to finish the project up.
Yeah,
Cause it's gonna benefit them too. Yeah.
Let's hope we can get the money to pay for it with.
we get it on 1 cent now. It'll be that long, 25, you have it all took in.
Mr. Scott, County Manager, have we got any updates on how many counties have voted yes for the RSPOS? Have any update numbers on that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Do we have any updated numbers on what other counties have said yes to the R-Splosh to continue?
T-Splosh.
The last I heard they had 8, and that was maybe 2 weeks ago. 8
Yeah.
resolutions. They got to have a total of 10
Yes, she told me to have 8.
That's for the T-spot.
for the regional.
Regional.
I mean, the regional.
Regional.
So there's 19 counties, so they gotta have 10.
Yeah.
Only need 10,
When's the deadline?
need 2 more.
I think to the end of January, I believe is when they kind of set the date. I would think they have 10 by now.
We need, you and I need to go.
So y'all got the contract ready and everything to be signed on it?
We sent the proposal over yesterday, we could have a contract ready, next week.
On the county represents.
So Scott, what we need to do is vote on signing the contract with them?
Well,
See?
I definitely, once we get it, I
We
can
gotta give
turn
it
it
to the
over
city
to-
first, so don't you?
Yeah, that's correct, but we'll turn it over, let her start looking at it. I'm not sure how we would do that, if the city's involved in that or not. I'm not sure. It's a joint project.
Are they gonna be signing off on it? If we're responsible for the money?
Right,
Are you gonna
yeah.
be signing off on it?
Do we need to
Yeah,
touch
we should
base
put our
with some of the landowners
It's a joint.
that we're gonna be affected before we go back?
Probably wouldn't hurt to start some initial conversation with them.
Right, we need.
Kind of show them a little bit about
Yeah.
what this thing's all about.
Scott.
Cause some of them gonna be surprised, I mean, and I think we might run into some more problems
Yeah.
there, you know.
Yeah, we got.
Denton and Tanner,
Do that.
gonna take it.
And these walls, you know, I mean, of course, we can do it anyway, you know, but do you think we ought to touch base before?
Yes, sir. I would wait till we get past that point where we have a notice to proceed with the engineers and see probably at that point where we are. Cause based on what maybe even CSX is gonna require, the design could possibly change a little bit, so we don't wanna get the cart before the horse, so to speak. I would wait till that kinda gets moving and then start figuring out when we should, talk with the property owners.
Yeah. Yeah, I suggest we start with CSX first, and first invite them to the dope factory.
Yeah.
They need to know immediately what we're gonna do, what we plan to do.
And I would suggest getting them on board right away, so
Right.
that way it wouldn't slow them down, or they have to backtrack and redo something.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation on moving forward from this time right now, Scott?
I think at this point, I don't know if you mentioned about going back through your schedule and see if there's any way of tweaking it any. And then maybe have a joint meeting with the city. And then I'm gonna talk with Jennifer about how we need to do the contract if the city's part of this too. And try to get all that nailed down, and then, like I said, and have a joint meeting with the city, and then do it that way. I don't know if y'all would be amenable to taking another ride south to do that, hopefully in a short period of, maybe about first of the year, because it's getting close to Christmas time anyway, so.
I'm good with
Okay,
that.
you saying that the preliminary plans is gonna take till May of 24, but we gotta know all these from the railroad before that can be done. If we could find out from the railroad, then that could be shortened, couldn't it?
So
If
one of the ways to look at shortening this is pulling that survey to start up right at NTP, right at notice to proceed, as we're also coordinating with the railroad. To try to pull as many things up as we can. That preliminary plans there, that's the sequence for the geotech to go out and us to do our geometrics, our layouts, our vertical profiles. And then you have, the structural engineer actually designing the bridge. So there's 3 different parties within that 1 year period doing their designs and work. So that's essentially why that's 12 months. But we'll circle back with all of them as well and see where we can all tighten up that schedule.
So the bottom line, if we sign a contract with y'all, we will be a priority.
Absolutely.
Be what?
Prior.
Priority.
Priority, yeah.
It's very important for us to be responsive, to our clients. Hopefully these guys would speak to that on some prior work we've done.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. I mean, they were really good with the Hatch Point Road project. Because there was all kinds of issues there, but they were always very responsive and helpful.
Good.
So I guess whenever, if y'all are the ones that's gonna be over the project and everything, as far as the work itself, do you have your own team that does everything, or do you do a lot of local stuff where you get out to local vendors?
As far as the design,
Not the design, but the actual
so we're
construction.
not gonna be responsible for the construction piece, just getting it to construction and preparing that bid package and assisting the county with the bid.
Did the bid, okay. So basically, y'all just do the design,
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Once it's designed, then they go to contractors, they'll
Okay.
come up with what they're going.
All right,
Okay.
move along.
Thank you, Brad. I
Scott,
appreciate
what
it.
can we do on giving him an answer now? Just, let's,
Well, I want to figure out if he go ahead and submit the contract to me, then I'll get with Jennifer to find out how we need to do that, being it's a joint project. To make sure that we do that the right way first,
okay.
and then just go from there. And then have the city in a joint meeting at the same time.
Okay. You don't, I mean, how much time can we take? A week, 2 weeks? Do we need to call another meeting?
Well, I don't know
put
what
together
the
the
city
city.
schedule is, but you know, it's getting close to Christmas, and I don't know, a lot of people start taking time off and going out of town, so I don't know how that may work.
Yeah,
Today is what, the 6th? I mean, it's possible. I would imagine. I could go ahead and find out, this afternoon from them if there's any time that they could meet jointly. And in the
Okay.
meantime, get the contract from Brad so I can get
Okay.
the county attorneys to start looking at it.
we could probably let you know. I mean, you wouldn't have to be here, I don't guess, would you? If we did what we need to do
Well,
with him.
I think when we meet jointly with the city, you would need to have
Him here.
have them back just for
Okay.
questions from them on the project.
Okay,
And then in the meantime, if there's any way the schedule could be tweaked and so forth, so, yeah.
okay. We just let him know then.
Probably in the next couple, 3 days.
Okay, we can do that now.
Because he's got the schedule starting in the notice to proceed starting in January anyway, I think, from what I remember.
Yeah.
So we still have a couple,
Still
3
have a few
weeks to
Okay,
play with.
Yeah, like I said, I guess, sake of sign of repetition, I think we definitely need to get the city, let them know, make them aware of everything that's going on, because,
Right.
I mean, I feel kind of a certain kind of way if, when you come to me, you're saying, well, okay, this is what we've already done. Well, you know, I got a dog in this fight too, so at least let me kind of know what's going on. That's why I'm saying that we need to let them know, because we got the SPLOST passed, thank God for that.
Yeah.
So we need to work in concert with them to let them know, hey, this is what's going on, and, you know, these are the people who got designed, the original design that we had, you know, conceptual, and then we want, trying to move on, as we promised the voters we would do. So this overpass.
Yeah. And I don't know, we might be able to mirror the same sort of arrangement we had with Hatcher Point, because half of that street's in the city and the other half's in the
Right.
county. So it may be we do it the same way, I guess, I don't know, but that would be something I needed to get with the county attorney on to make sure we have that done the right way.
okay.
I think everybody should acknowledge, city and county, whoever, that county is in charge of administration on the project. Like Hatch Point Road, just like you said.
Yes, sir.
What percentage, Brandon, is this bridge in the city?
Probably
The whole bridge is in the city, ain't it?
Fairly, if you look at the total project length,
Probably 70%.
About 60%.
Yeah, it's barely over 50%.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a joint deal, so they need to be here.
They need to be here.
But the entire bridge, is in the city.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the
Fine.
bridge itself is.
Plus all of them
the
side
bridge
roads.
itself is in the city.
That's 2/3 of the money right there.
It's 90% of that, this project, 80% probably is in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's get them on board.
So they gonna pay 80% of the cost?
Huh?
Brad, we really appreciate y'all being here
I
and
didn't hear
coming.
that, Tim.
We thank y'all. Huh?
Thank you.
No, I mess with
We
you.
Thank
appreciate
you.
the opportunity. and look
And,
forward
we'll let you
to
know,
y'all.
'cause we wanting to move on it.
Yes, sir.
We just trying to figure out how we can build a fire under y'all, speed this up a little bit. No,
That's what I'm hearing, instead of
Yeah.
priorities,
Yeah.
we'll work on that.
Okay.
we
appreciate it.
had so many people call and they ask me all the time, well, we voted you in and now you gonna build us overpass. Yeah, I've heard that many times. When's that overpass coming? So, I wanna be able to say it's coming. You know, but, and I understand they do wanna, we want one as soon as possible. That's all I can say. All right,
Thank you, Brad.
and
I'll-
I guess Scott's gonna let us know
Yeah, I will.
when we can get back to you, Brad. You know, we appreciate y'all coming.
All right, thank you, and I'll be in touch with you, probably, I'll get in touch with you tomorrow. Yeah, yep. Safe travels.
Okay. All right, that's it. What else we got here? Anything else on that, on the bridge? Okay. Go back and see what else we got.
Mr. Chairman, I've also, under tab B, put the LMIG application back on the agenda to see if there was any other discussion or basically to find out what projects y'all wanted to apply for. And it may be that if y'all have some suggestions and recommendations, we can come back and try to compile and get a budget set.
Right.
So we'll make sure we fit. We have to match it with 10%. And we could move above that, add more, a little bit more to that, and do some more projects on top of what the grant would pay for.
Okay.
I turned my list in as requested.
Yeah, you got, Jerry done his homework.
I'm a good commissioner.
Good commit.
And if you could tell me what projects
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can,
Steve got
we can
his.
put it down and come back with a proposal. We can put it on Monday's meeting to approve it, and then we can move forward.
Okay.
If you
How
wanna try
much
to do that.
money is in that with me? About 1 million?
$1,028,000. And then
Let
we
me,
Move to the
1,028,000.
Brandon and, whoever will take the streets that we put in our little pots, and then y'all will go through them and come up with extra money, LMIG, whatever,
Right.
and put a package together, right?
Yes, sir. And we could split it up, you know, you could do a certain amount of money in each district, or, you know, just however the commission wants to.
I'd like to see
Formulate
some
it.
money spent in each, just,
Yeah, I go along with that.
Yeah.
I was about to
Yeah.
say that everybody get a little piece of the pie.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
then find out what's in that district that really needs some attention.
Well, the projects in my district cost so much. I mean, like
Yeah.
$1 million to Albany Avenue, another $1 million to Jamestown Road. Them two roads is the most traveled roads there are in the county, other than Corner C and State Street.
Yeah. What we,
That is true.
Well, Steve
So
will.
they're not gonna last those
sympathize with
6
your brother.
years until we get an overpass built.
these roads right here, I'd like to maybe try to explain some of this. We wanted to do, I asked Littlefield if they would give us a price on fixing these roads without buying right of ways and did it.
Without the curb
So we're
and
gonna
gutter and
save
all that
us,
stuff.
sir.
Without all that curb and gutter.
Right,
all the
without
fancy
all the
right.
stuff. And they gave us the price and they can build a good road like this. And what I'm trying to do is get as much mileage as I can.
The roads on my list can be triple surface treatment
True, that's what we wanna do.
on my
surface
list.
treatment.
Wasn't there one road that we said we were gonna do just to see how it?
These are the ones here
Got
that
one.
you got on your list right there.
It was Lane, I think.
But I'm saying, what,
Kent Lane is on yours,
Right, and what-
on Jerry's, and,
they haven't done one
we
yet,
haven't
though.
done them yet. What we wanna do is, I wanted to ask if y'all would, consider them. And let Littlefield do them, because we're gonna get about, 4 or 5 miles of paved road for $500,000. We're paying 1.3 million on Smith Road for a mile. And out there. This here, you're getting a lot more mileage.
And basically, this is. what
Getting
you
a
call
lot
it,
of-
Triple surface treatment, or whatever we call it.
Right,
It's-
Surface Street.
It's not in curb and gutter, but it's basically get them out the mud.
Get them out of the mud and water.
Right.
And it cuts the grader loose. And I talked to the grader man, and he said, Lord, I wish y'all would add that Bennett Road goes around the church down there. And I think that's on yours.
What Bennett Road?
Is it Bennett Road that goes around the church out on Carswell Avenue, the big church? Goes around
Kettle
that.
Creek.
Kettle
What's
Creek,
Kettle
that's
Creek?
that's his district.
Yeah, that's,
Okay, he wants that one paid.
Carswell Avenue or North Anita?
No, I think it's Bennett Lane, ain't it? or
Anita
something?
goes around the cemetery, around the church, and back in
Okay.
Parkland.
There's several houses around through there.
Yeah.
He says he has to get called all the time to go straight there to that. But, it's not on this list, but. If we could, what I'd like to do is, this could be a sample of what we wanna do. And we can have these roads done at this price. And then if we don't like it, and if it don't, we won't do no more. But I think that this here is a way to go. It'll be a lot inexpensive for us.
And that's to use.
It gives a good road.
To use all the LMIG money for the overall right there,
Right.
instead of doing, like Jerry was talking about each district, just focus on those right there.
Right. We can do
Yeah, I
these
wanna
on a
spend
chain
some in
order.
other districts and not all in one district.
And that would be all in one district right there.
No, this is several districts here.
Okay.
And all some on that list I turned in.
So some of the same streets are on
I don't-
on the chairman
I
list.
can't remember. I thought Brandon and Scott would do that. But yeah, some of those on that list, Elmer Scott said, that's fine. Triple service treatment.
And, he says we can do them through a change order and, on what they already got, the Littlefield is doing for us.
So if LeMae's paying for it, why you gotta do a change order?
Well, it's put the money, they can do it as a change order instead of bidding it out. These projects here.
Jennifer, you wanna elaborate on the change order and stuff? I think,
Ain't that how you said do it, Scott?
Yes, sir. The county attorney mentioned that the only problem there is typically those change orders are contiguous to the project. Correct me if I'm wrong. So that way, it would have to be something associated with the project or something, there close to it. That could be part of the project. But I'll let her elaborate on what that really means.
Well, and I won't address the engineering part of it, the side of the, triple surfacing and all. Certainly I'll defer to Brandon on all of that. As far as the question on change orders and or the need to bid, we, as part of, receiving these LMIG monies, we want to be very careful that we're in compliance with all state requirements on state bidding. Right now, what the law says is if you have a project over $200,000, that should be bid. Now, to the chairman's point is there is, there obviously, when you have huge projects, there are times that you would have a change order. Our firm has in the past recommended that those change orders stay under 20% on any project, 20 to 25%. The reason, there's a couple of reasons. One is you get above your bond documents, right? So we've got bond documents to support a certain amount that we signed at the beginning, and if you get, half again above that, and some issue rises, then you don't have your documentation in place to support that. Also, just other concerns in this case would be the fact that the roads are not contiguous, and that they aren't part of that original project. There would be an argument that, you know, they should be bid as a separate project to then meet that state requirement that you bid all 200,000. So I just want the commission to be aware. I know I mentioned that to the chairman at the last meeting, so I just wanted the commission to be aware of what the chairman and I talked about.
Do we have any road that Littlefield has done that we could look at that's done this triple service treatment?
We have,
Yeah, watch out.
That's down Lamar Music Road and Cleve Road, it's down like that.
yeah,
But they've got, what,
part of
40
that Griffin Road.
40
up
foot
there.
right of way out there.
Yeah,
Is Rowell Road done that way?
Now, Road, I don't know.
So they haven't had any problem with it, or?
well, the 8 Mile
Well, I
Place
got a-
Road,
I got
Needham
the
Road, all
Rowell
that,
Road.
that's surface treatment. It's got a clay base on
It's
it.
already got a.
Swamp Road,
Oh,
Swamp
where
Road's
at?
like that.
Right when you
Swamp
turn-
Highway
Curve,
is
because that's
State
raised,
property.
raised.
surface treatment,
No,
it's on top of clay.
it's on
They just have it, they
Rowell
can-
Road. It's not
And they've been there 50 years, running logs on them every day.
The Oklahoma Tavern, that's closed now. I went in there one night, I didn't drink, I wasn't drinking, but I
I
bought
bought
a
it,
gin
they
tonic.
get you, didn't
Somebody who was, so.
No,
Oklahoma
that don't
Tavern.
sound, that don't sound right there, you need to retract that.
I won't tell you who it was from. But anyway, that project we just finished is same, like,
Yeah,
Jim,
yeah, all that Needham Road,
Let's
it's
get back
like
to the
that.
tavern, you say you went in there, but you didn't get, nothing to drink, you went to buy a
I wasn't
motorcycle.
drinking, I bought a motorcycle from somebody who was drinking, so. Got a good deal.
Yeah, the way home, it used to be kinda rough.
Yeah,
If
it
you
was
didn't have a
rough.
gun or a knife, they issued you one when you went in.
Yeah, he
Dog
went
all
there,
right.
bought a motorcycle, he was drinking, but he bought it from drinking. Kinda sound like you might took
Well-
advantage of it.
Are we still in the meeting?
Yeah,
Oh.
we hadn't got out yet.
Where's Scott
What
go?
I would like, what we kind of agreed on, your list, that list right
And-
there.
yeah.
Leonard and Steve and Timmy put
Put 'em
streets
together.
together and do some of all of it.
Right, okay.
So,
But we'll need to bid it then, according to what she says, we're gonna have to bid it.
Yeah, because like I said, when you talking about a change order, that's gotta be tied with a specific project.
Well, Slash Pine could work, cause it runs right off Smith. And Slash Pine is where,
On this list. Let's see, which one's Slash Pine? Oh, it's the top one, Slash Pine. Okay, it's only $69,000.
all right? We could change order him on that and go ahead and let him do Slash
that'd be
Pine.
fine, I'll.
And then let him, let's look at that
It's
road.
not real estate.
Now, they done moved out of there now, they might go
I
back
vote for
over.
that,
I let them do that one.
okay?
Now, is there any more?
What do you say the closest one is that they done? I just like that they've done that, this.
South of Valdosta Highway,
Yeah,
that project we did out there,
Talking about, out there, what is the name of it, no, that's what we're getting ready to do the work out there tonight.
Brandon, what did they put on Lamar
past
Music
the,
Road out there? Lamar Music Road, how did they do that?
go past, Circle
Soil
K
cement and triple surface
and
treatment.
to the right. where-
Soil
before-
cement.
Between Circle K
Is that
and
what you're talking about?
yeah, same thing.
the school.
He'll
On
do
the
the
old
same road.
Part of.
Littlefield down that one, didn't he? Littlefield
They got one
down
road like
Cleve
that.
Road.
Hey, he's gonna build just as good a road as he's gonna have on Smith Road.
Yeah, well, I
or
would
out
do it, I
there.
mean,
But the only thing is,
Michael,
he ain't buying up.
right
the
there with
highway.
Michael, he'll, or Brandon.
We gonna pay what's there on the
Because
bill.
like I say, the main thing, they just wanna get out the
That's
dirt,
old.
I mean, out that mud and stuff.
Instead of buying.
Ken, we were just talking,
driveway,
could you
Putting all the driveway.
arrange to take from Commissioner Burris out to Holman?
Got that pipe, drive pipe, should be about that.
So that's like that
Driveway.
12th Street, on, they got some of them roads like that on 12th Street out there in Way
We
Home.
got paving and everything.
Cause I know where that Way Home is.
Yes, sir.
Saving and
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to have a ditch crossing the
Those-
house, so
that's
they gonna
what
get to the
I'm talking
driveway.
Hey, did you see how much it
Okay.
cost over?
So if you go from 12th Street down, cause I had a friend used to stay on that street.
He's gonna do it right there for
I remember,
69.
I remember 11th,
He's gonna-
7th and 11th.
He ain't gonna put no
I
gravel
don't
pipe
think,
in
Okay.
it.
11th was, 12th one, I don't think. But
take
anyway,
care
all
of
around it.
Yeah.
He gonna build it up.
Two
They on
ditches,
Gibbs
the ones that
Lane.
went all the way through.
How are they gonna do
All
that?
the
You
way
got people
from-
lives on Gibbs Lane, how are they gonna do it? You're gonna have to have pipes in the
No,
ditches, but
if
where the
you,
water gonna go?
they ain't, they ditches over there, ditches
They
gonna
did the
stay.
same with like what we're talking about here,
All
that
they
triple
gonna do is
circle.
grade them up.
North Avenue,
And-
wasn't
and
it?
just-
Wasn't that long?
Yeah, Gibbs
North
Lane is
Avenue?
one that needs paving bad.
But they got to have
I know that
driveway
sign right
pipes.
out there, 'cause like I said, I
Yeah,
just,
that's it.
so what they
Yeah,
just
you
basically,
Sixteenth
one
Street,
crosses
16th
high
Street is, there's
on
a
it. It's
turn
the
right
only
on
one that
16th
needs.
Street, I think it is, and you can go in that whole way home area, and all that paved.
The only one
So
we
basically
get
when
then,
you
according to what she's
pave and
saying.
grade, you grade
is
the water
slash
ditch to where the water just runs off into the
Right,
ditches.
grade it, so.
When you grade
The way
it,
home
out,
was expensive because it's kind of
if
in
you
a
still
bowl.
take it.
Right, yes, it's
We
low
had
out
to go
there.
out of the bowl to get to the drain.
Had to go through the wall of the bowl to get,
The hill,
like cutting a hole in the mixing bowl.
to drain the
going through.
tub.
Yeah, for way home it is low out there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But yeah, that street's fine.
Musket Trail, Rowell Road, those are two other ones.
Railroad, wait, I know, I just,
It's not far from Musket Trail.
But on Musket Trail, they put in pipes and all that stuff, driveway pipes, all that stuff there.
But that was soil cement and surface treatment.
Yeah.
And on Rowell Road, right down from Musket Trail, you did as well.
Got Cleve Road, Lamar Music Road.
Yes, sir.
You do know where the highest elevation in Ware County is, don't you?
I did just more there.
Glenmore.
Glenmore,
That's out of Ruskin.
that's the highest.
That's the
the
highest
highest
in the
elevation.
bowl that you're sitting in.
That's the highest elevation. It's higher than, anything in Jamestown.
Well, I tell you
we
what,
got
I
through the
tell
meeting.
you- I tell you what, the lowest one like
We
that,
got through the
09.
meeting.
Yeah, if you
Oh,
want.
nine.
Yeah,
we
it's
got
what's
to
low out there now. Look at,
That's higher.
at 09, it can be done with rain and everything else and drive away because it's still wet out there.
And take the thing and get going. Let's get rid of this.
Let's,
Scott.
we still in the meeting, ain't we?
Yes, we are.
Scott, the only one of these roads then is we could put and still be in a change order is Slash Pine, cause it's connected.
Yep,
Smith
it's off
Road.
Smith.
That's all Smith.
It's off
Road.
Smith Road.
That would be okay, Jennifer?
3/4 of a mile.
I
And
guess
it's
the question
only,
is, why not just bid them all
69.
if we are going through the bid process? I mean, what, do we think we're gonna get a less advantageous price? Is that the reason?
I'd like to do all of them going through there on Rowell and, Banks Road, Banks
I just
Mm.
wanna
Lane,
understand
Slash
the
Pine,
rationale.
Elm Thread.
Just wanna keep
Well, we
us
ain't
on
never
track.
got, we don't have a price on
I'm
any
telling
of
you,
that.
I'm
That's-
talking,
we
when
couldn't
you
bid it
talking
all
about
out
a
if they're
change
just
order,
gonna
that's
do the
got to
triple
be pretty
layer
much
or
tied to a
whatever.
specific
Yeah.
project.
Yeah.
Not. that
We can
you say
probably
we're
give
gonna
him
do
a change
order, but we're gonna bring the street in, but the change order would be really pertinent to that
Well, when
project
I think of a
itself.
change order on a road project, I think something like we all were talking about earlier, pricing has changed for some
Right,
reason, or they're
right.
gonna have to adjust
Bigger
based on a
pipe.
certain environmental condition, or, hey, we wanna go 0.23 miles further because we have additional
Right.
funding or something of that
Right.
sort. So, I mean, it's up to the commission. I'm just trying to give guidance as far as, you know, what the law says on bidding in Georgia.
I think everything needs to be bidded out unless you got a change order on a specific job, like making
Right.
pipes bigger or different kind of source, you're gonna have to do something with.
That certainly is a
Don't
best
go
practice.
3/4
Yeah.
a mile down the road and
Absolutely.
start paving roads on a change order. I think we'd be gambling.
Yeah, we right at this, the only one you're gonna be touching is that one, Slash Pine.
Like I said, I don't think you can
Runs
really
out
do
there.
it and say because it's touching that project, it's got
It's not
to be
touching it.
that project
Yeah,
itself.
run off of the same road.
Yeah, you bet. In this situation, and Brandon could probably, and he'd have to tell me how we could do it. If you're basically with the idea and the design of this is more or less just putting a topping on the road.
Right.
And I'm not sure how you would bid that. And what would you just ask for proposals? You know, in more of a generic kind of broad perspective, because you don't have any design specs to go by. You know,
Could you have an RFP with a typical section? Would that
could you do it that way, Brandon?
I remember in the past, that used to be one of the ways, DOT has bid some roads out with a typical section
Okay.
and a start point and an ending point.
Yeah.
I have to do a little research and look into that.
Okay. Yeah, and to just bid it out that way, and just bid them all at one time, if that's what the commission wants to do.
You can do a design build on it.
I'm good at working it out somehow,
Yeah.
whatever Jennifer approves.
Okay,
The more we pave, the less we gotta grade and maintain.
That's right.
Then we got to maintain what we got.
all right. What you gonna do with the LMIG on this, and we're gonna do any of them, or bid them out, or what?
We'll have to get a list because we have to turn the application in to DOT, and then
Okay.
they'll approve it before we move from there.
All right, we need to do a list in which, okay, y'all come up with a list. How much we gonna spend, 1.28 million?
You'll have to match it with 10%, so you're looking at, I would say, I would round it off somewhere around 1.2 to 1.3 million, because you'll
Okay.
only be putting in.
All right, you got, Palmetto Drive,
So will the DOT, they have to grade it and then approve what's done, or just look at the list and say, yeah, it's good?
I think all they do is approve the list, don't they, Brandon?
which one y'all want?
Well, they have to
I ain't got any
grade
small
it and
projects
check
in
it out
my
before they
district,
approve it, or they just basically take the
Do,
list and approve
on my
it?
big stuff,
They just basically.
I don't have anything small in my district.
Approve that application.
You talking about this one or this one? Is that what you're saying? We ain't got 21 million.
Is that what we need to do then, Scott, just come up with a list of roads that we wanna do?
Yes, sir.
With this much money? Okay, which
Yeah, if
one
you come
y'all
up with a list of
with
roads, we
them?
can run some estimates on it, let you know what that is, and then I can have it on Monday's meeting.
Okay, you got a lot of them listed here, Jerry has, cost on them.
That's the cost per house. That's not a cost. What's- That's the value. of the
Yeah, he
property.
got the cost estimate, 132,000.
Kinda that basically gives you
And
per
then he goes over
household,
and breaks the
what you're
house
paying
down.
per household.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I'm about trying to see what you're talking about there when you're talking about the cost.
it costs, yeah, he's cost, how many houses on it, I guess. Okay. Which streets y'all wanna do?
Brandon, don't you, I got all these maps, don't you have a spreadsheet like this that we've already done for each district? The one we worked on? Don't you have it for each district?
I think so.
So
Gibbs
that would be
Lane.
maybe a start point of whatever.
Gibbs Lane is.
You got them in your office, Brandon, or?
It's 366,000.
Of that spreadsheet.
And over here, he's gonna
Yeah,
do
Gene
it.
put it together.
You want me to get
Yeah,
one out for each district?
Yeah,
would.
if you don't mind.
He gonna do it for
Scott, when can
76,000.
you
I don't see
get
how
an
you can
appointment
do
with me
it
and
without
you and
teaching.
Leonard to go to City Hall?
Whenever,
Okay, so,
I mean, I'll get in touch with them
Leonard
this afternoon if you wanna do that, go talk to them.
This afternoon, go this afternoon?
Well,
I'll see
I'd have
right
to see
now.
who's available, cause I think their
If
work
they do
session's
this
this
one right
afternoon.
here,
Then we'll have a regular meeting
they'll have
tomorrow
flash pines
in the
over.
morning, whenever Leonard can go.
You talking about before I try to get with them on some of these
In the middle of each
streets?
one that's not being done. So that's just gonna tear those roads up.
I'll check with them this afternoon and see what they say.
All right, just check and let me know, and I'll see if I can squeeze in
Yeah,
between
whenever.
nurse and do this.
And I'll be in town this week.
Okay,
Or,
all right. I'll find out, I'll try to find out this afternoon.
Okay.
which road you wanna do then, Jeff? If you just got one berth, which one you want?
Well, that's why I was asking Scott.
He's gonna get one in the city.
If we could get, if I could get
Joint
a
in
road
the
in the
city.
city, you know, and what you tell me, Scott, I can't remember now, about when I actually, are we ready?
I
to
tell
get
you, be a
this-
good one in the
county?
city, Leonard, is Riverside from Ware Street on into town, cause all you people in the county drives on Riverside Avenue, in between the old golf courses. Send that road will tear your vehicle all to
You say
pieces.
Riverside and
Yeah.
what now?
Start at Ware Street, city limits,
Right,
starts on Ware Street on Riverside. You go all the way down, stop at Blackshear, go all the way down like that, back into town, Riverside.
Yeah, that
That
area.
road is- that
The
road-
pavement's bad.
It is.
Oh, yeah,
It's a lot of
resurface
pieces.
it, you mean?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to find it, cause then, you know, in the
That way
city-
it'd benefit the county and the city, that
Right,
road right there, will employ people live in that area.
Okay, what street is it? Riverside?
I mean, that's Leonard do if he wants to put it on there, I just
Is
suggest.
it on here?
No.
No, it's not on there.
No, it's might be on the other list. But I just think we all need to keep in mind that, as far as I remember, if I'm correct, Scott, there was only one county precinct that passed the SPOS tax. Bickley, wasn't that it?
Yes, sir.
It was Highway,
Nobody else in the
Steve, what
county
was that
passed
street
it.
say?
Riverside,
Riverside.
City
Riverside
passed it.
Avenue. It starts at Ware Street,
And
goes
goes,
by the old concerted service.
And comes
okay, yeah,
up,
Riverside,
comes up
okay, yeah,
to,
yeah.
T-Bow,
Yeah, Dead End Tebow, Faith
the
Temple,
Fort
right
Talk,
at the fort.
yeah.
That's one go down in front of the fire station back there,
Yeah.
cause the city just done some work right there on
They
that
done the
canal.
canal.
Just overlay it. Okay. You wanna put that one on there, overlay Riverside?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That'll be from Waring
Okay,
to, T-Bone.
Well, I did look at the road to see if it's tore up on in the town, but I know that one part right there is messed up between Ware and Blackshire Avenue. I mean, it's bad.
Gibbs Lane needs building that on Jerry's side.
See what?
They just had a turn lane right there in front of the school.
Yeah, well, that's Darling, that,
There's some drop.
on Riverside? Riverside or Darling?
I'm sorry.
You're talking about Darling,
Oh, no,
you're talking about Dorothy.
yeah, Dorothy, I'm sorry. I was thinking about Dorothy turning into Riverside intersection.
Riverside.
Scott, you got extra, can I keep this one right here?
Yes, sir, you can.
I can see that a little bit better and got the streets on it.
Okay, which other one? All right, you got one?
Bank, I'd like to get Banks Road, Banks Lane,
Banks Lane,
number 3, all the way through
you
to.
probably don't get but one, then we got.
We ain't got the
You gonna have to have,
1.2 million.
how long is Banks Lane, does it run off in the paper?
Constituent doing it.
Okay, how far is it going?
I mean, one of them,
How many houses down on Banks Lane?
2,
2 houses? They had to get what? How far is it if they road?
how far?
See, I think,
That's where that bus comes around all the time, constantly taking
Bug.
the
Bank.
mud out of his driveway, and that's what.
That's one you want Riverside.
How they doing over there?
But if we've already got Rowell done, so if you leave Banks Road and Banks Lane undone and then do /Pine, it's like you're paving the road in the middle, and you got 2 in
You wanna
between.
do slash pine then?
/Pine's on here.
Yeah, but we ain't gonna do it like that.
Each district's
Can't,
gonna
they
get
won't
something.
agree to that, we can't do it without bidding it. Can't do it that way. That's all out there.
yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and Jimbo probably remembers, I think Banks Lane and Banks Road is like 30 foot right away, something like that. It's not very wide, and we would probably add that to the list that we're talking about, just putting out as a typical section and bid it that way.
Well, can we bid these that we already have there? Like these here, if we do a typical section on them, and go ahead and bid these out with that, like Littlefield's got them designed?
If, yes,
Oh,
sir, if
okay,
that's,
go ahead and do these 4 then?
yep, if that's what the commission desires, yes, sir.
Okay, and then you wanna add Riverside to it? And, Banks Lane,
Banks Road and Banks Lane.
Banks Road and
I
Banks
mean,
Lane.
one of them isn't as long from here to that double door, maybe a little bit past it. Is that right, Jimbo? I mean, it's a little short.
It's got 2 lanes.
Banks,
Yeah, it's got
Banks Road,
Banks Road, Banks Lane. It's a 90-degree turn,
You need to go past the 90 though.
yeah. And that's where they're always pulling the dirt out of that driveway. Already brushed the mailbox twice.
all right, we'll do them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we'll do those 5 there. And
What are you talking about?
Riverside
we're gonna bid them off, we're gonna have to bid them. And Riverside overlay, and then do Banks Road and Banks Lane
This is LMIG money.
for the LMIG money, Scott. And let them go out for bid, I guess.
You got Slash Pine, Gibbs Lane, Solomon Street, that whole district back in there.
Yeah,
6th Avenue, Griffin Road,
That's the
that'd
big,
just be a dead end road, ain't it, Elmer?
no, that's through road.
I mean, the pavement just go down and just stop.
It stopped, yeah, stop at there's about 13 houses right down there at the end of it.
That road's gonna hand us a problem, Elmer.
No, that's,
I've already talked to you about it, that's gonna hand us a problem.
that ain't gonna be no problem. Not unless you make it one.
I'm not, I mean, y'all do what you wanna do, I mean, I can't vote for that one, cause the chairman's got property on both sides of the road going in there to it, and it's gonna create a ethical problem for us.
I might own probably on some other property, landline too, whatever.
I mean, ethics might
I might
not be
own
every
some
something
yeah.
that matters to me, but I can't do it.
Scott, in the past, did we traditionally use that big money to resurface roads? So you get more bang for the
Yeah.
money, so to speak? So it doesn't-
I think, yeah, most of them that we've done since I've been here is resurfacing.
I mean, it's set up for maintenance on roads. I don't think LMIG money is set up for paving roads. It's local maintenance money.
Okay. Any more, anything else? Y'all want any other ones paid?
you wrote all mine down with Elmer and
That's got, we're
Bank Road,
gonna
Bank
give him
Lane.
that list right there
Yep.
with Riverside, Banks Road, Banks Lane.
and that hits
And
Slash
that,
Pine.
that list there, and let him put them out for bid.
So Scott, y'all gonna take this list and go through it and give it to, make the list, show it DOT and
Yes, sir, because we have to
Go through
create the estimates and they
cost
review,
estimates and all
they
that.
review the cost estimates.
Then let us know before you go to DOT.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that all? Anybody else? Got anything else?
I got a couple of things.
Okay.
I will send a picture of a pothole on Ravel Road. Not right when you turn off of 122 extension, but a little piece down the roadway. They just paved that thing 3 months ago. Already got a pothole in it. We'll also receive 2 phone calls. The canal that runs parallel with Hilliard Avenue. Thought we were gonna get all of that done when we had that piece of equipment. But they didn't get, there's 2 canals over there in that area. And they
Off
didn't
of
get it.
Hilliard?
Hilliard Avenue, it runs parallel with Hilliard. And, it's right behind LaFarrell Barnes' property. Runs all the way through there. That whole neighborhood, and it ties in over there on Albany Avenue. But there's 2 sections of it that run through that neighborhood from Albany Avenue all the way down to US 1.
Okay. Are they still over there cleaning them out?
No, they three.
No, so they finished.
They
They finished with what we set them up to do, but I'll check,
Okay.
I'll have these checked out.
Any more? If not, Scott, you got anything?
No, sir, I don't.
Don't? Any of y'all got anything else? I hear a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Meeting adjourned.